everyone, and thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I'm your host, Dr. Angela Butts Chester. You guys know who I am, and you know what I like to do on my show. Say it with me. I want to enlighten, inspire, and empower you to become your best self. Now, scripture reminds us that the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And that's what we want to do today. We want to get you fired up about the topic. Today, we will be talking about making peace with what did not bloom. So, I'm going to tell you to do go on, get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee or get your tea because we are about to get started. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me here on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. Today, we are having a real conversation about something we rarely give ourselves permission to explore: the dreams that did not grow, the plan that did not take shape, or the prayers that do not look the way that we expected them to. This is making peace with what did not bloom. Not everything that we plant in our lives is meant to flourish. Not every idea matures. Not every relationship continues. Not every opportunity opens. And that truth can sting just a little until we realize that unbloomed seasons often protect us from things we were never meant to carry. I am really excited to talk to you about this topic because, like I said, it's something that we tend not to speak very much on. We kind of deal with it within our own little quiet small spaces. Just me, myself, and I type of conversation. So today we're going to give it some light. Our scripture foundation is Romans chapter 8, verse 28. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose. This is not a conversation of disappointment. Let's make sure we get that perfectly clear. This is a conversation of acceptance, of wisdom, and of emotional maturity. Let's take a breath and step in together. Understanding that there are seasons of life. Every season has a purpose, even if it does not produce a visible harvest. You guys have heard me tell the story of people that have said, well, I didn't understand why that person kept having to change jobs, or I didn't understand why I wasn't selected for this particular project when I was a perfect fit. Those types of conversations. When in the long run, each one of those places was giving them an experience, wisdom, knowledge, education for something that was needed further down the road. That's why they didn't stay. That's why they didn't seem like the perfect fit. Because they weren't supposed to be there for the long haul. They were only supposed to be there for the time that they needed to gather the information that was needed. Now, this is not the same as just being a little antsy or wanting to get yourself further up the corporate ladder and you're trying to rush. This is really and truly God's hand on the timing of where you are, when you're there, and how long you stay there. The other is some things do not bloom because they were meant to shape us, not stay with us. That makes sense to you, right? Not everything is your forever thing. And that, I must say, also includes people. Some people bloom with you only for a while. They are not your forever bloom people. Now, this doesn't mean that we just toss people to the side. Oh, no, not by any means. We should always be kind and gentle with our fellow human beings. But there are going to be some coworkers that were just your coworkers. They're not your BFFs. There are going to be some people that are just your church members. They're not going to be anything more than that. And there are some family members that are just going to be your family, and they're not going to be also hanging out with your friends. We have to understand that again, some things, some people, some situations, they do not bloom because they were meant to shape us, not to stay with us. The other is that God uses unfulfilled expectation to redirect our steps. That can sometimes be a little harsh. God uses the unfulfilled expectation to redirect our steps. So many times, folks have prayed for something. They have stood 10 toes down for something. They have thus declared about something, and it never came to fruition. It never blossomed. It never bloomed. It never got past just you planting the seed. Those things that are unfulfilled do not have to equate to doom and gloom. They don't have to equal the blues or depression. It doesn't have to equate to your being a failure. God has a way of allowing us to experience the no so that we also better understand the yes. Not every seed that a farmer plants is going to turn into fruit. There are going to be some trees, some plants, some vines that simply need more time. Or they were never meant to be in the first place. And those things are used as a learning experience. Either they need to be pruned, they need to be trimmed, or they need to be removed. But all of that is part of the learning experience. I love how nature teaches us more about faith than we realize. I think that God gives us the seasons and the beautiful things that are around us in nature as a way of speaking to us indeed. For those of us with certain personality types, with those of us that have certain loves for certain things, He speaks to us in the sunset and the sunrise. He speaks to us in the changing of the seasons and reminds us what we should be doing as well with every season that we experience. He reminds us in a bright blue, cloudy, sunshiny day that He is with us in the good times, making sure that the warmth will hit not only our backs, but our faces as well. He is there with us when it is a rainy day, when the storm comes and passes over us. He is still there with us. So, yes, nature does teach us more about our faith than we realize. When a seed does not sprout, the soil still learns something. The gardener still learns something. And the environment, it's still enriched, even though the seed may not have produced a fruit. In life, there are moments where we give our best effort. We prayed, we showed up, we tried again and again and again and again. And still, the outcome was not what we pictured. That does not make the season wasted. It might mean that the timing was off. It might mean that God protected you from something that you could not see. So stop. Stop grumbling, stop complaining, stop murmuring, stop mumbling about the thing that you didn't get the way that you weren't able to, and understand that perhaps, just maybe, God was pausing you long enough for your blessing to catch up to you. Far too often, I hear these things that go on in people's lives, and it is just a bunch of grumbles. They don't see the blessing yet. They don't see how the blessing is right there. They're only focused on, they're only concentrating on, they're only amplifying the negative. They don't even see the positive. They don't see the sunshine poking through the hole. They don't see the water on the other side, the gold, the green grass. They don't see it because they are so busy looking at the negative. Today, I encourage you to lift your face to the sun. I encourage you to look instead for those things that are of good report, those things that are beautiful, those things that are true, those things that will add some more spring to your step as opposed to the negative. The negative will be there. You don't need to amplify it for it to be there because it will arrive. But let's stay focused and realize that God has, and will continue to get us through. He had another plan waiting for you. Staying along with our analogy, he had another field waiting for you that was better suited for your gifts, for your peace, for your future, and for the seeds that you were planting. Now, let me not pretend to be any type of a farmer girl, but I do garden. And we do know that certain seeds need certain type of soil. And sometimes you could get a little ahead of yourself and drop that seed a little bit too early. No wonder it didn't grow. It was the wrong soil, the wrong field. But when you are placed in your field, when you have the soil for your seed, boy, does it take off. And it becomes a beautiful thing. And don't let anyone change your mind about your field. I want you to think about the disciples. They fished all night and caught nothing. But that empty net led them to Jesus speaking a single instruction that changed everything. The miracle came after the disappointment. Your empty places do not define you. They prepare you. So, what in your life did not bloom the way that you had hoped? How can you instead see the positive as opposed to the negative? Can you see limits, or can you see the hints of God's protection or the redirection in what did not come to fruition? Hopefully, you will be able to now understand it from a different perspective. Well, everyone, it is time for us to take a very short break, but when we get back, we will continue this conversation. We'll be back right after this. The ocean within symbolism of water in the Bible has revealed the powerful symbolism of water throughout the Bible. As we have seen, water has been used to represent everything from baptism to purification to judgment and destruction. By exploring these various meanings, we gain a deeper appreciation for the complexity and richness of the Bible's message. Get your copy of The Ocean Within: Symbolism of Water in the Bible by Dr. Angela Butts Chester. Available on Amazon or wherever books are sold. And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I'm your host, Dr. Angela Butts Chester. And let's jump back into our conversation. There is an emotional reality of unbloomed seasons. It is normal to feel sadness or even confusion when something you'd hoped for does not develop. I mean, if you didn't, that would be kind of odd. Because let's admit, you were serious. You wanted it. You mapped it out. You planned it. You might have even gotten some other people involved. And the fact that it didn't boom into the thing that you wanted, yeah, that can make you a little sad. I remember when I was first starting out and I would plan these events and I would, do the whole 9 yards. You're sharing it on social media, you're putting up the flyers, you're sending it to your newsletter folks, I'm sharing it on the radio, all of that stuff. Like you're doing the stuff. And when I first started, I remember there were many a time where no one would show up. And then when one or two people showed up, I was excited for those one or two people because the last one, no one showed up. But then the more I did it, the more I figured out what I was supposed to do according to my God download, instead of just me out there just kind of doing whatever. I started to figure out what it was that God was instructing me to do, how He was guiding me to help others. And that is when things change. That is when people started listening and people started showing up because it wasn't just my idea, but it was God's divine idea. It was how He was choosing to work through me to assist others. So, looking back, all of that, priceless because it helps me to understand what I am sharing with you right now. Another is that God is present in both the outcomes and in the healing. So many times we have a positive outcome and a negative outcome, but God is in both. Because when it goes good, let's face it, we don't really need someone to come along and say, great job, because you feel excited already, because it was great. It was everything you wanted it to be. Now, don't get me wrong, you want to hear a great job too, but you're already excited because it was positive. When it's negative, yeah, that's where God is in the healing, because it didn't go off the way that you thought it should. Maybe two people showed up and you thought it was going to be 200. And that can hurt your heart and your pride, right? So, in that, the healing is there. Don't give up. Just take a step back. Take it to the Lord and ask, what exactly am I supposed to be doing here? Because I don't think I heard it correctly. So, please tell it to me again. And that is a wise person who doesn't give up, but instead looks for the redirection. The other is that peace comes from acknowledging the loss instead of avoiding it. Just because you don't talk about it out loud doesn't mean that it didn't happen. Peace comes from acknowledging the fact that, wow, okay, that was a bummer. I wish that had gone better. I wish I had done better. I wish I had spoken to more people. I wish that more people had attended. I wish that I had had it in another location. It was a different venue. Whatever the issue is, you just wish that things had been a little bit different. And it's okay to feel that way. That is a part of the assessment, the self assessment as well as the assessment of the event. the thing, the seed that you planted, right? It's okay to have that conversation because the peace comes after you have the understanding of what did and didn't happen. Let's talk about truth for a moment. It hurts when you put your heart into something and it does not take form. Maybe it's a relationship. You thought that was going to last. Maybe it was a project. You thought that was going to be platinum. Maybe it was a season of your life that you wanted to turn into a testimony, but you needed the surgery anyway. Whatever it was, it mattered to you. So the absence of fruit is felt. It does not matter if no one else thought that it was important, if it was important to you. If it made you sad, then it was important. If it makes you happy, then it is important. Your emotions are yours and you feel validated. I want you to feel validated in knowing that your emotion is your emotion. The same way that the person that's telling you to get over it, you'll be fine, when they are experiencing an emotion, guess what? They want their emotion to to be validated, right? They want to be able to say, "But I'm feeling this, so it makes it real." So don't let anyone else tell you that what you're experiencing isn't real because it is. See, God has a way of letting us understand something. Your feelings do not intimidate God. He created you with emotion. He understands the ache behind the release. Psalm 34:18 tells us that God is close to the brokenhearted. That closeness often shows up during our unbloomed moments more than in our triumphant ones. When we have unbloomed moments, that's when He is Father God, arms outstretched, saying, "Come, let me hug you and comfort you. Let me take on all of that." Now, when things are successful and we are triumphant, don't get me wrong, God is still arms outstretched saying, "Here, come here, let me hug you, congratulations." But far too often, folks forget to go to God to say thank you for the good stuff, but they have no problems running to Him when it goes bad. So let's remember to include God for our goods and our bads, for our yeses and our nos, for our tears of sadness and our tears of joy. There is no shame in saying, "I really wanted that to work out." There is no weakness in saying, "This hurts me much more than I expected." The strength comes in allowing God to soothe what is tender. The strength comes from choosing peace even when you do not have all of the answers. So let me encourage you today. Your emotions do not disqualify you from your purpose. They humanize you. They make your faith real. So I want to encourage you to release what no longer belongs to you this season. Realize that it is necessary for your spiritual progression. What did not bloom is often a sign that your path is shifting. You cannot carry everything forward and still walk freely into the next session. Open your hand, release that which does not belong so that you can receive what does. Every gardener knows that part of preparation for the next season is clearing the field. removing what did not sprout, turning over the soil, and making room for what's next. In your life, the same is true. Sometimes you try to revive what God has already released from you. You try to hold on to something out of sentiment, out of fear, out of responsibility, when God is gently saying, hey, let this go. Because where you're going, you cannot carry this weight. Let this go. Where you're going, you cannot carry that weight. Isaiah 43:19 reminds us that God is doing a new thing. That new thing often requires a new environment, a new mindset, a new level of emotion, a new level of spiritual spaciousness. It requires you to be able to say, hey, it is a new week, new me, new month, new me, new day, new me, new minute, new me. Guess what? A new second just passed by. Bing, new you. At any moment, you can accept this new place of where God has settled you, and it is okay to do so. You've been feeling that nudge, that push to change, to get up, to go, to be the all that you could be. It doesn't mean that you have to change your city, your state, or your job. It just means that you have to understand your place in it. What God did not bloom was not a punishment, it was preparation. God was clearing your path long before you realized that you even needed the clarity. So let me encourage you today. What are you still trying to revive that God already released? Let that go. How would you and your spirit feel if you let peace settle instead? Thank you, everyone, for spending some time with me here today. I hope that I have once again enlightened, inspired, and empowered you. You didn't have to be here today, but I thank you for spending some time with me. I hope that you enjoyed our talk today. As always, may the Lord continue to shine his face upon you. May you receive his grace and his mercy in all that you do. Until next time, everyone, remember that you are blessed in the Lord. Have a great day, everyone. Bye bye.